Welcome to the Israel Reality Podcast. Our guest today, Jaques Heller, a proud Jew who grew up in Belgium in the 1950s as the only Jewish student in his school and later the only Jewish officer in the Belgian army. With deep Zionist roots, he made his way to Israel and worked in multiple senior management positions. In this episode, we explore Israeli culture, the surprising success of chaotic work environments, his near-death experience, and his perspective on living in a time of redemption. Please give us feedback, subscribe, like, and share. And now to Jaques Heller.
Thank you, Jaques Heller, pour être venu, for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, where did you come from? Where is your family from?
That's the good question. Let's start with that. First, let me, I apologize for my English because my mother tongue is French, but I do my best.
Okay.
Now, Heller, the only thing that I know from the past, as far as I can go, is Yom Tov Lippmann Heller, who was the chief rabbi of Prague in the 16th century.
Wow.
And we most probably are from we are the sons and grandsons and great-grandsons from Yom Tov Lippmann Heller. It's amazing for just my son was in Prague 10, 15 years ago, and he visited the Altneuschule, which is right on Erev Shabbat. And after the Tefillah, he went to the Gabbai and told him, you know, my name is Heller, and my ancestor was Yom Tov Lippmann Heller. Right? So the Gabbai took him by the hand and brought him next to the Aron HaKodesh, to the chair, and said, sit down. This is the place where Yom Tov Lippmann was sitting.
Wow.
So that's the family. And my parents were from Poland, from Warsaw. And my father was a Bahur Yeshiva. Both my parents were from poor families at that time. And in the years 1930, the end of 20s and beginning of the 30s, they moved to Belgium because of anti-Semitism and the poor economic conditions. My father told me that when he was walking in the streets of Warsaw, and when there were non-Jews coming in front of him, he had to move and to go to the other side of the street. Otherwise, he would have faced aggressions and violence. So that's the main reason why they left Poland, but also for economical reasons. And Belgium was one of the only countries in Europe which had a liberal policy regarding immigration. And it was much more difficult in the other countries in Europe. So they moved to Belgium with the intention of moving further to the United States when it would have been possible. It has never been possible because of visas and all right. So they stayed in Belgium and they worked hard until the Second World War. In 1939, I was born.
Wow.
And just in October 39, just before the war.
What date?
24th of October.
Okay.
You'd alle frisch waren.
Okay.
And the Germans invaded Belgium. The Belgian army resisted for 18 days and no more. And so they invaded Belgium, and that was in May 1940.
Mm-hmm.
And in September, October 1940, they started imposing some anti-Jewish laws. My parents at that time had a small shop, and they were very close to Christian family, who were the landlords. And 1941, it started to get worse and worse for Jews. So it was time to get to hide, and to disappear from the city. So they had a discussion with the Christian family, and the Christian family told them, now look, you have to go away because it's too dangerous. But most dangerous it is for Jacques, it was my name, because if you disappear, at least let's make sure that Jacques will survive. So we will take care of Jacques, and you go into hiding outside of Brussels. So my parents left the center of Brussels, and they went into hiding 15 kilometers out of Brussels in a small apartment. And I was staying with that Christian family. That family, they had two children. One, a boy, 20 years old. He was in the Belgian army, and he was made prisoner by the Germans, and he was imprisoned in Germany for the whole war. The daughter was 20 years old, and she took care of me, and she in the neighborhood. She declared that I was her natural son. So she took care of me during the whole war. And more than that, every day she went on a bicycle and brought food to my parents 10-15 kilometers and 10-15 kilometers back every day to bring food. During that period of time, my parents had to hide, to leave their apartment. For instance, they lived for 6 months in the attic of the church. And the resistance, the Belgian resistance, who was aware of les rafles of the Germans when they were looking for Jews. They told my parents, so my parents went to the woods, and for 3-4 days and nights, and then they came back, and every 6 months or so, my mother came to see me where I was with Fernand, that's the name of the woman, to see me for a couple of hours. And in 1943, by the way, I was a young boy I was 3-4 years old, but I had to go to the kindergarten. But I was told not to talk to the other children because it was could have been danger that I was because I knew at that age that I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
That I would tell something about my origin. So I was at this kindergarten for a couple of years, but I never talked to any other child.
Wow.
I played alone in my in the playground, and I knew inside that something wrong is going on and that I was in danger. So by the end of 1943, my mother came to see me, and at 5:00 in the afternoon on a Sunday, she told Fernand, "Look, I'd like to have my child at least one night with me, with us. One night. So I'll take him with me." Fernand said, "Impossible. It's too dangerous. You are going on the tramway. If the Gestapo is going to see you, you disappear and Jacques will disappear." I said, "No, nothing. I have to take him for one night." So at 5, we left. The same night, at midnight, the Gestapo came through the roof to take me where I was supposed to be with Fernand.
Wow.
One of the neighbors informed them that there was a Jewish child there.
Wow.
So after that, I didn't return to my place with Fernand. The resistance came to, and it took me to a farm outside of Brussels until the end of the war. And until now, I don't know where it was, because the day of the liberation of Brussels by the British Army, the resistance brought me back to my parents the same day.
Wow.
And I remember the first British soldiers, and I got my first chocolates.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So that's the war. And it was kind of a very difficult moment, and I remember that period until now. After the war, I went to school, elementary school. I started in 1945. I was 5 years old, 6 years old. And during that age period, I think that I was a rather anxious child.
I can't imagine why.
But at the same time, at school, we were 3 or 4 Jewish children. And we had to prove that we are the best. So it was a kind of pressure. I was not the best, but that was the pressure.
Right.
And at the same time also, to be Jewish. And I must say that the Belgians were very open. I never felt any anti-Semitism.
Wow.
Until my Aliyah at the age of 57.
Wow.
Never. Contrary to what could have happened in France or in other countries in Europe. Because the Belgians are simple, open people, kind people. Sorry, I have to stop that.
Okay.
I lived in a non-Jewish atmosphere. My friends mostly were non-Jewish. And we went along very, very well all the time. Now, in 1948, I was playing in the street with one of my Jewish friends my father was looking after me, and then he came and found me and told me, come back home very quickly because today we have a Jewish state.
Oh.
That was in May 1948. So that's the beginning. That's 1948, 1949. My parents decided that I should join the Bnei Akiva because they were convinced that the future of the Jewish people would be in Israel, and I should be close. As I was 8-9 years old at that time, so I joined the Bnei Akiva until the age of 17. I stayed in Bnei Akiva, and that was a very important part of my Jewish education, my Zionism, and wish to move to Israel. Until now, my children, by the way, are also in Bnei Akiva, and my grandchildren are in Bnei Akiva.
They're in Belgium?
No, here.
Oh, here.
They are all here in Israel.
Oh, wow.
But they are all members of Bnei Akiva, and it's Bnei Akiva played a very important role in the history of our family. So I studied. I went to high school, and at the end of the high school, I went to university in Antwerp. A special, it was a university for business administration, and I majored also in diplomacy. During all that time, again, there is something I think important. It is that I was the Jew, because I lived in a non-Jewish society, and I was the only Jew. And what was important for me is to be a proud Jew. Not to hide my Jewish identity, on the contrary, to be proud of it. And I think that everybody respected that. That I was not a Jew ashamed, on the contrary. And after my studies, I lost my mother, Zichronah Livracha, 3 weeks after I graduated. And then I was incorporated in the army, because it was a compulsory army at that time. And I went to. I was selected to go to the officer school, infantry officer school.
This is when you're about 20?
I was 21.
21.
And so I went through the training of the officer school, and at the end of that period, I was promoted as a second lieutenant.
Wow.
And I joined a battalion, the Belgian battalion in the NATO forces in Germany, on the border of East Germany. That means the Russian troops. And it was a tough period, tough training. I was in charge of 40 soldiers, but it was also a disciplinarian battalion. That means the soldiers, most of the soldiers came from prison.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow. Like
so
the Dirty
I
Dozen.
had a tough time, but
Wow.
it was an extraordinary. But again, I was the only Jewish officer. The battalion was 800 soldiers, and there was one Jew again, and a proud Jew. For instance, Shabbat I was not in service, but Shabbat midnight I had to come back, and every 6 weeks I came back home to visit my father for 5 or 6 days, and I went back with the naknik, with the
like a package of food.
Of food, and the kasher. So because I ate kasher, and again, I was respected for that. Said, oh, yeah, that's the Jew, but yeah, all right. But I have also to prove to others that I'm the Jew, but I was also capable of being among the best.
Right.
So that again, all the time.
Mm-hmm. Did you stay in touch with any of those soldiers? No.
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I got from them some letters after, which is extraordinary. But and they knew, everybody knew, and again, no anti-Semitism. So after the army, I applied for a job at an international group called Unilever.
Right.
And then again, the only Jew.
Wow.
At that time. And we were two selected among almost 400 candidates.
Wow.
And I became a expert in international marketing. So that's what I did most of my career, promoting and creating new products, and mostly in the food sector.
Oh.
Then after Unilever, I worked at other companies. I joined an American company specialized in the reorganization of companies and cost reduction, and I was the general manager for Belgium.
What were in the army? Who were you guarding against, or you were guarding against
The Russians?
The Russians coming in.
Yes.
Okay.
It's interesting. The history is coming back all the time until today. Ukraine, and we were tasked at that time. We were on the Russian border, on the East German border, which is the same, because the Russian troops were in East Germany, and we had to. If the Russians would invade, we had to push them back, and to retreat 72 hours to get back to the Rhine River in Germany, and waiting for the American troops to arrive. So that was our mission.
Right. Doesn't sound so easy. Yeah.
I have something to tell. The day I was graduated from the officer school, that was in November. Yes, in November 1962. 24th of November 1962. What happened at that time? No, 24th of October. Sorry. What happened at that time?
Your birthday?
No, Cuba.
No? Cuba. Also.
Cuba.
Yes. Okay.
The Russian ships were closing to Cuba, and the United States, with President Kennedy, told them, now, if you're moving too close to Cuba, it's the Third World War. So the Russian ships were a few miles from that limit to get to Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
And that night, we were, at 4 o'clock in the morning, we were awakened by the siren. And we had to, as quickly as possible, to move to the trucks, get to the airport, be on the plane, and be parachuted on the border of East Germany.
Huh.
So I remembered I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I said to my best friend, look, I'll never see my father again. I'm going to die. I don't know why. And I'm going to die for Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
What for? So we went on the trucks, and we were sitting there, and we were half an hour from the airport to get on board and to be parachuted on where we would have to command our troops, our soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And at that minute, the Russian ships turned back.
Oh, wow.
And our truck turned back.
Whoa.
It was a question of minutes.
Wow. Wow.
So that's...
Mm-hmm. You have there are a few different times in your life where things were, JIT, just in time.
Just in time, absolutely. Yeah. So then later I worked for other international companies like Ferrero in Italy. I worked for almost 7 years in Italy.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Ferrero is one of the main chocolate producers, praline producers in the world.
Ferrero Rocher?
Ferrero Rocher, Nutella, Tic Tac, and other brands.
So your Italian is pretty good? Also,
yes,
where in northern Italy?
Yes, in Turin.
Torino.
Yeah, I still have very close friends in Italy.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yes. And so, and again, what was my position in Ferrero? I was member of the executive committee and an advisor to Mr. Ferrero, the founder and the president of the group.
Wow.
And for instance, he knew that, again, the only Jew.
The only Jew that they knew of.
They knew of. I told them I'm not working on Saturdays.
Shabbat, wow. Mm-hmm.
So every Friday at 3 o'clock, I could get back to Brussels, took the plane and get back to Brussels for Shabbat and return on Monday. And remember, one Friday, we were sitting around the table with Mr. Ferrero, and I see the time is going 2 o'clock, and I see what's going on. And suddenly, Mr. Ferrero looked at his watch and said, "Oh, Senor Heller, I forgot. Wow, you're losing your plane. You know what? Take a taxi and move to Courmayeur, which is a ski station, 1.5 hours from Turin, and stay there for your Saturday, and on Sunday you can go back to Brussels for a few days. I'm awfully sorry."
Wow.
So that was the kind of thing that happened to me all the time.
Wow.
then I
was there any Jewish life in Torino? Were there any? No.
At a certain point in time, Mr. Ferro asked me to come to Turin and live in Turin with my family and take care of the international division. And so Astrid and my wife, we went for a few days to Turin. We went to visit the Jewish school, the Beit Knesset, and we decided that it's not for us, not for our children.
Yeah.
We can't do that. We informed Mr. Ferro, and that was the end of my career with Ferrer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then I moved to other positions, and then I created my own small company in international marketing consulting. And I had 3 children, went to elementary school, to the Jewish school, and then
in Brussels,
and then to the non-Jewish high school. And when they reached the age of 18, we told them, and they knew from the start, they are not going to stay and study the university in Belgium, Israel.
Wow.
So they made Aliyah, the 3 of them.
Wow.
And we made Aliyah, unfortunately, 10 years later, but we did. So we had our 3 children in Israel. We moved in Israel 10 years later, finally, because for many, many years, I tried to make Aliyah and tell you the story. It's interesting. During the summertime, I came for a few weeks in Israel looking for a job. And Astrid, my wife, and I, we said, if I have a job, we move to Israel immediately. So I have many interviews. And what was the answer?
Oh, after you come, we'll give you the job.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Come first, and then you'll get it. I said, we can't. I have the responsibility of family. I can't do that.
Right.
So that was going on for 20 years.
That's a standard answer.
The standard answer, and I could not accept that until finally, one company, a startup, an Israeli company, said, "Okay, let's sign a contract." So they signed a contract. I signed a contract, and 3 months later, I moved to Israel.
Wow. What company? A food export-import, international?
No. It was a small startup company.
Okay.
And so that was it.
Great.
So we are now in Israel. That was our dream for so many years. And our 3 children are in Israel with their families. Our eldest son at the moment is in London for a few years.
What's he doing?
He is a co-founder and of a Israeli startup in the
fintech.
No, in robotization of
markets,
proliferation of tomatoes,
of robotization of pollination of tomatoes.
Pollination.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like drone bees or something.
Absolutely.
Seriously?
Yes.
Wow.
And they have signed contracts in the United States, in Canada, in Australia, in Israel, of course, and they have. They got some nice investments. So,
but seriously, is it drone bees? Is it little flying?
It's not a bee. It's a robot.
It's a robot, but it flies around.
Yes.
Whoa!
No, it's not flies around.
No. It moves around on the ground.
It moves around.
And it identifies with some sort of optical thing. It identifies the flowers, and it brings pollen from one flower to the other, or whatever.
Absolutely.
Wow. Because it's a problem. The number of bees that are around. It's a problem.
So he's in London, and he has a small daughter. And my daughter is in Jerusalem, in Givat Shaul. Mm-hmm. She's managing a matnas in Jerusalem. No, the matnasim in Jerusalem, taking care of older people.
Oh, wow. So are the programs pretty well developed here for older people? Yeah.
Oh, yes, very well. Very well developed. It's incredible the way older people are taken care of in Israel. I've never seen that in other part of the world where I've been. Never. During the Corona, the COVID in France, the old people were just dying in the retirement homes. They were dying.
Where in France? In France,
they were dying. Yeah, Nothing happened.
Wow. Yeah, there's stories also in Greece and stuff. Whenever there's a big heat wave.
Yes.
And Italy also.
Yes.
They just die in their apartments.
Yes, dying.
Yeah. So they actually keep track of the older people.
Yes.
And they
organize all kind of activities during the whole week. It's just wonderful. Wonderful.
Wow.
And these are mostly for independent
of course.
Old people, not people who are in retirement homes.
Right.
So in Israel, we are trying to keep older people as independent as possible, as long as possible.
Right. So
not to get them to the hospital, not to get them to retirement.
Right.
That's why we have the unique system of the Philippines.
Right.
Here.
Right.
In Israel. It's incredible.
Right. There was just a story about that, about how they have to, in some places, the Filipinas have to pay a bunch of money to some middleman, and it's, there's a bit of a scandal with that. But overall, it's a good system. You think?
It's a very good system.
It's a very good system.
It works very well. Works very well. My wife's mother had Alzheimer for 10 years, and we had a Philippine at home.
Yeah. It was great.
Extraordinary.
Yeah. Extraordinary. It's tricky. It's a whole, it's a situation that's going to continue to get, Israel, thank goodness, has a lot of, a reasonable birth rate.
Yes.
But in a lot of countries like Japan and Northern Europe and even America, the birth rate is not so great.
No.
So the elder population is going to become the front and center, and if they're not dealt with properly, it's going to be a disaster.
By the way, just a few words also about the Israeli health system. It's true that sometimes we have to wait long to get an appointment with a specialist or something.
Right.
But on the whole, the system works well. We are very well taken care of. I think better than many European countries. And we have a level of professionalism and very high. Mm-hmm. So, and a doctor here he cares. He cares about his patient, which is not always the true somewhere else.
Right.
This is, again, the Jewish link, the Jewish gene. We are a family, we are a tribe, we are a society very, very close.
Mm-hmm. And you have a third child?
And my third child, my youngest, boy, he studied philosophy, Jewish and non-Jewish, at the Hebrew University. And he went to the army in a Sayeret, in a...
Sayeret Matkal?
No,
another
Sayeret Givati.
Givati,
And very, very Zionist. He lives in Tekoa, which is in Judea, Samaria, in Yehuda v'Shomron. He has, his wife is a clinical psychologist.
Oh, great.
And they have 5 children. Two of them are, they studied in a...
Yeshiva?
No, first agriculture high school.
Oh, right. There's one close by there, I think, even.
Yeah, no, they're in Regavim, which is in the north next to Bet Shan. And then they went they are at the moment studying at the yeshiva, and they are going to be incorporated in the army, one next month, and the other one next year.
Wow.
And then they have twins, boy and a girl, and a small boy of 11 years old. And the whole family lives in Tekoa, and he is very, very active in helping the young French Olim.
Oh yeah, it's hard because of the
Mechubarim. That's the name of the organization. It's financed by Kalita, which is another French group, and by the Ministry of Education, and they're taking care of the young French Olim in the afternoons because here the school stops at 1:00, and in the afternoon these young French children are in the street.
Wow!
Because the parents are working.
Oh,
so it's a danger.
Wow!
So they are taking care of a lot of activities, sports, shiurim, and.
So from what age? I mean, they're younger kids.
It's from the age of 9, 10 until the age of 18.
Really?
Yeah.
But get off of school so early. I don't remember my kids getting off quite that early. Maybe when they were really young. But I guess schools are different.
1:00 or 3:00.
3:00, right? 3:00. It sounds.
But still.
It's early.
And parents are working until 6, 7.
Wow.
So
it's important. All the youth
especially
groups.
we're coming from another culture, another environment, from France directly to Israel. It's not easy.
Right. Oh, when the Olim come, it's very
Olim Chadashim.
Right. Yeah, we were saying before we started recording that the culture shock. Even though for me, I was in France a year before I came here. For me, I think that made the culture shock a little bit less because it was different enough from America. But for French people, they feel the culture shock more dramatically because their sense of culture is more serré. It's a little bit more circumscribed, and so it is harder. And for French, I think, than for Americans. I think Americans have a somewhat easier time. But maybe not all of them. I mean, it depends.
In a way, I had also a cultural shock.
Yeah, of course.
When I moved to Israel, I first worked for 6 months with that startup company, and then I joined SodaStream.
Oh, yeah.
As one of the marketing directors. Yes. And I remember, I tell you that I had to organize the first meeting. Right, we had 15 people around the table. And then I started, as I started everywhere in my career in Europe, explaining what's going to be about. And all right, would you please? And then suddenly, they started talking to each other, one against the other, like in the Knesset today. And I said, "Where am I? How can I manage that?" It's not easy. It's another professional culture also.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Professional, but
right.
But at the end, it's working.
Right, amazing, yeah.
It's working.
It's amazing, yeah. It's like the army itself is probably part of the reason why, because they experience things working even though there's a background of chaos. So it gives them a certain faith that things can work out, even if there's a good amount of disorder. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Because they say, that the army is like one of the secrets. The people learn discipline and they learn to manage other people. Yeah. But another part of it is the army is not so different than naturally than the rest of Israel, and so there is a chaotic and element to it as well.
I'm not sure. I'll tell you what I think. It is that. When there is an operation in the army to be planned,
yeah,
many times the officers in charge are explaining the operation to the soldiers, and the soldiers can ask questions and give their opinion. It's you'll never find that in any army in the world except in Israel, because they put their life in danger, and they have to be sure that everything is correct and taken care of and planned as it. And then when everybody has made his opinion, then the officers in charge said, "All right, then this is the decision. Now go."
Yeah, I hope that's true. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's what. Well, I'm talking about the combat units.
Right.
That's the way it works.
Right. That they get advice and then they make a decision and then people stick to that. It's not like Fauda.
No.
Where you have rogue soldiers going off and doing things on their own.
No.
Yeah.
No, it depends. It depends again what unit and how, and it's and so. I'd like to come back to another. I consider myself as a survivor.
Yes.
From the war, from the Second World War. And in many things that happened during my life, and I'll give you an example. In 2003, which is 20 years ago, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, I was, for professional reasons, on a flight from Los Angeles to Tel Aviv via Zurich. And after half an hour, I didn't feel well. I called the steward and I told him, "Look, I think that I'm going to have a heart attack because I had some heart attack before. And we have to do something." So he asked for doctors on board. They came and tried. And then I called him again. I said, "I'm going to have that heart attack. We have to make a emergency landing." He went to the captain. And the captain decided to make an emergency landing in Denver, Colorado. We landed. I was taken by ambulance to the closest hospital, which, by the way, was one of the best hospitals in the United States.
Wow.
I arrived at the emergency unit, and then I was 3 times 5 minutes without pulse and without respiration.
Wow. So you have like tremendous self-awareness. Like,
and
you want water?
it's written. I still have the documents. Clinical death.
Wow.
3 times. Then I was for 12 days in full coma, and my wife didn't know where I was. I had to land in Zurich and to call her. No call.
Wow.
So she called Swissair. It was the airline. And the answer that she got, she said, "Now look, has the plane arrived on time? Was my husband on board?" And they said, "Mrs. Heller, this is the private life of your husband. We can't tell you anything about him."
Seriously? That's weird.
Yeah. So finally, it took her some long hours to find out where I was. Then she called the hospital and they told her, "Now look, he is in coma. You can come, but to no avail. He will not survive. And he will, if he will, he was 3 times 5 minutes, his brain without oxygen. He will wake up as a vegetable."
And was this? And this wasn't an induced coma. This was a coma of your own.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it was.
Wow.
So she came with my son, and 12 days later I opened my eyes, and
everything.
I stayed there for another month at the hospital. And at the end of my stay at the hospital, I called the doctor who saved me, came to say me bye-bye, and I asked me, "Doctor, could you tell me what happened to me exactly?" And he told me, "Mr. Heller, from a scientific point of view, what I can tell you is that you were surrounded by angels."
Right.
That's why every Friday night, when I'm saying Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Shalom, I think about it every Friday night.
Wow.
About the angels.
That's extraordinary.
So,
wow. How long ago was that? How many years ago?
20 years ago.
Exactly. Oh, 20 years ago, right. 2003.
20 years ago.
Wow. And so did you do stents or anything? Or
yes.
You did stents, yeah.
Before and after.
Oh, before and after. And you go to the rehab at the...
Yes, but I'm
But
fine.
you're okay. Yeah, you're in good shape. You can exercise an hour and a half. Yeah. Wow.
So full of surprises.
Yeah, it's amazing. And where did you meet your wife?
We met in Brussels during the 6 Days War. We were working at the Jewish community to help Israel the way we could. I volunteered to come and fight in Israel, but the time I was scheduled to be on a flight to Israel, the war was over.
Oh, really? Wow. Wow. So you studied diplomacy? Did you work in diplomacy at all?
No, not really. But I could say that I used some diplomacy skills during all my life in business.
Yeah.
And I was very active also in the Jewish community in Brussels. I was chairman of the chairman of the Maimonides Jewish School in Brussels. And I was also in charge of the security of the Jewish community in Belgium,
Oh, wow.
in coordination with the Belgian authorities and other authorities that we are not going to talk about.
Okay. Israeli off price. So one question that I like to ask is, the Geula, the redemption. You said you have some ideas about what that is.
Oh, yes.
And
yes, and we are living in a time of redemption.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying also, what I said many times, it's our generation has the unique chance of being the ones who make the link between 2,000 years of Galut and our return to our land, and to educate our children as Israeli Jewish citizens in the new Jewish land. This is historical, and we should never forget that. We are lucky to be the ones who live that period and make it live. So we are. These are historical, exceptional times, and we should not forget that. The small things that we are discussing around at the moment, all right, but let's not forget the global picture.
Right.
To see the miracle of this land coming back from a desert for 2,000 years and becoming an extraordinary country with grass and trees and honey and milk and with on that land a Jewish people, very dynamic, optimistic, happy. We are supposed to be one of the happiest people in the world,
right?
And I feel that. When we move when we walk in the streets, we feel that we are part of the tribe. And even in the family, we have some very difficult discussions. But at the end, we have no other way than live together. There is no other way, no other possibilities. Right. And if we forget it, if we forget that, our enemies will remember us, what the situation is. So,
right, it's a difficult time with the rebellion and the reform and the reaction to that. It's a difficult time. Yeah.
Yes. I'm not a lawyer. I have sometimes difficulties to understand what are the pros and cons on the reform. But I was shocked. Can we talk about it?
Sure.
I was shocked by both sides. First, the brutal approach of the government to introduce that reform. It's unheard of, unacceptable.
Right.
But I think that the Minister of Justice wanted to pass it through because he was afraid that if he doesn't do it quickly, it will never happen. But it's a strategic mistake. I'm sure that if the government would have discussed and negotiated that reform with the opposition, it would not have been easy, because the opposition is afraid of losing control of the country.
Right.
And that's the core point.
Right.
And we have in the government a party which has no political experience. Talking about the ministers Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, they have no political experience. They don't know when to talk, when not to talk, what to say, what not to say.
Right.
And when to push and not to push. And they have to be trained for another 10 years about what politics and diplomacy means, and they are not a football team. It's something much more important, and they should go to school. That's
not the school of experience. They should go to school.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Now, and on the other side, we have a group of activists, a large group of activists. Even they don't know that themselves, but who are the descendants of Marxism, Leninism, and Bolshevism. I have studied what Bolshevism is and the Bolshevik dialectic, and this is exactly what they are applying. They are there is no compromise for them. That will be the difficulty.
You're saying the left doesn't want to compromise.
Yes, because they have an ideology, and I'm afraid of people who have a too strong ideology.
Right.
When we've got to manage a country, of course you have to have your own principles. You have to be strong with your principles, but ideology is something else, and there is no compromise with an ideology.
Right, and they're not interested in hearing the other side so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Hearing, but not listening.
Right.
And so I don't know what's going to happen. I hope something will happen, something positive. But I'm disappointed also by the silence of some of our spiritual leaders. Where are the rabbis, the great rabbi, the grand rabbis? Where are our philosophers? Where are our thinkers? Where are our leaders? Where are they? Because they should make the compromise. They should work for a compromise. I'm not sure. I hope that the president will be able to do it, but I'm not sure that he is the best person at that in that period of time to do that.
Yeah.
I think personally, because he's coming from the Avodah, and inside he is
a leftist.
He is not
in the middle.
Really. So we'll see. But I hope that something will change for the better, without violence. I'm shocked by the demonstrations. From the left, with verbal violence, and I think that it is very well organized. I'm not sure that the center of the organization in Israel, I'm not sure. I think that the financing of that opposition is coming from somewhere else. And that's what we should investigate. Where is the money coming from to organize such demonstrations? If it is J Street, let's put it on the table. It's J Street. It's Soros. Let's make it clear.
Soros.
If it is the American government with Biden, let's make it clear. Or are the Europeans financing some? I don't. The Europeans are financing the Palestinians. That's one thing, but not the demonstrations today. So I don't know. There are many questions about what's going on, and for the first time since my 26 years in Israel, I'm a little bit scared of the situation because of the army.
Yeah.
For the first time, we heard pilots and other elite units saying, we are not going to train until this reform is changed. I said and I wrote that they should have been sacked immediately by the hierarchy, I mean by the chief of staff and by the Minister of Defense for disobeying orders.
Right.
And this is unacceptable in any army, and especially in our situation. I cannot accept that.
Right.
And tomorrow, if not talking about the pilots, if the Golani have to go into Gaza and they are ordered to destroy one building, they will say, no, because I saw a woman inside, I can't do that.
Right.
So where is my security? If the army is not the army, where is my security? The army should never have been in a position to refuse orders. By the way, and this is again the left, because when we have to disengage from Gaza in 2005,
there was
the policemen, the army, they did it. They were crying, taking away the Jews from the villages. They were crying, but they did it.
Right.
So
yeah. That's
a concern.
Yeah, very big concern.
And I feel that Gallant and
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends, and leave a comment below. Your support helps us create more exciting content for you.